you don't have a Bronya, so you decided to pull for our elation queen, Miss Sparkle Spoo. And during that process, you probably lost a 50-50. I pray for you, I'm so sorry. But if you lost a 50-50 to maybe say a Yanking, he'll be showcased on at least one of the 3 teams we're going to be talking about today. Because as you saw in the thumbnail, no Bronya, no problem. Today, guys, we'll be exploring 3 different teams that really fix the Sparkle niche really well. And actually, you can execute really well with Sparkle on the team that you couldn't execute with Bronya on the team. So let's go ahead and first talk about that character you probably lost your 50-50 to, Mr. YANKIng. Well, in this case, he's YANKIng because he's hitting 200k plus damage. We're running Pela, Sparkle, Ruan Mei, and Mr. YANKIng, Mr. YANKIng. This is a bussin' team, a hyper carry team, mind you. And also, if you did see here, we're not running any sustain on this team. And that's because if this team is built correctly, you do not need a sustain. We beat MOC 12 against the deer boss without it. Now, we almost did die, but you'll see how shitty our stats are and maybe why you could prevent that if you run this team properly. So our Pelapu is our worst built character here. She is rocking an S5 Resolute Shines of Pearls of Sweat, but it's only at level 50, so we're getting diminishing turns as far as the stats are concerned there. Now, talking about the most important traces here, really just her ultimate move you need to level up. This gives you defense shred. This is the most important thing. Make sure you're focusing on getting the defense shred 4 from her ultimate. Relic, she's running a complete rainbow set, but I would recommend running the Pinaconi or the Von Wax set, so you're getting the extra 5% energy regen. The other set really doesn't matter too much. You could run 4 pieces of the wind set as well. That's really up to you though. Now, hopping into the Eidolons, you do want at least E4 on the Eidolons because you do want the extra ice resistance shred, because this will be compounding with all the defense shred this team's already providing. And I should note here that defense shred and elemental resistance shred is really important for this team, because YANKIng is just getting so many damage percent buff that he is actually overcapped on crit damage. His damage percentage is going to be out the roof. Now, hopping into Miss Ruan Mei. Miss Ruan Mei is really well built. She's sitting in a nice clean 160 speed, but as far as the light cone go, we're just running a free-to-play meshing cogs light cone. Gonna be super good for getting her energy back because she does basic a lot. As far as the traces go, you want to make sure her 3 main abilities are leveled up. You don't have to level up the basic attack, just make sure the other 3 are leveled up because they come in clutch. All of them do. Relics for her is going to be a 2-piece break set, 2-piece hackerspace set with the 2-piece break planner set in the middle as well to make sure we're hitting the max threshold of 180% break effect for her max buff. Eidolons are not required for her, though E1 would be super nice. If you have E1, your damage will go up dramatically. Now let's talk about Miss Sparkle Spoo. I have her really shittily built. She is running for the most part just a rainbow set. We are running a 2-piece hackerspace though, just so we're getting some extra speed, because you do want her to hit over 161 speed, and the crit damage is at 175. So realistically, you do want a 180% crit damage buff there. Now, as far as light cones go, you are going to be wanting Dance Dance Dance. You don't need S3 Dance 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 for this comp, but for a future comp, you actually will need at least S3 Dance Dance Dance, so keep that in mind. Hopping into the traces now, the traces are down bad. I haven't even unlocked my 15% damage bonus on her yet. So yeah, realistically, just make sure her skills level up as much as possible, and the ultimate would be after that. Now let's go ahead and talk about the man of the first part of the video, Mr. YANKIng. Let's go, baby. Right now, as far as stats go, he's rocking 124 speed, 24% crit rate, and a 218% crit damage. So we have a pretty good base amount right now. As far as light cones go, we're running Sleep Like the Dead, which is technically his signature light cone. This is really not necessary. I'm just running it for the extra 30% crit damage. You could run Zila's light cone, even though you do get diminishing returns, or Dr. Ratio's light cone as well. Swordplay can even work here, but you really do want crit damage on him, so that's why I'm running this light cone. As far as the traces go, we're rocking level 9, level 8, and we still have a couple smaller nodes to unlock, but we didn't unlock those. As far as the gear sets go, it's mostly rainbow with the exception of the 2-piece Pioneer set. That just gives us extra damage on debuff enemies, which they are going to be debuffed literally all the time with the team we're running. So yeah, this is going to be coming in clutch here. Obviously, you would probably want to run a 4-piece Prisoner set on him, or a 4-piece Ice set with like a 2-piece Runeland Arena for the Planner set. So yeah, that's just food for thought on Mr. YANKIng. Now hopping into Eidolons, E1 does come in super big clutch here, but you don't necessarily need it. I didn't need E1 for my Mr. YANKIng, so you don't either. And I'm sure you've been seeing in the background how the run's been playing out, and you'll see the damage is being chipped away at my DPS here, but that's not really what we're here to talk about. Obviously, the team can be built better to survive better, but as far as how you want to run this team, you just want to be pulling YANKIng back up to the front every single chance you get with Miss Sparkle. You want to be using Pele and Ruan Mei's basic attack as much as possible to bring up the amount of skill points that you have, and then of course you burn through those when you get closer to using Miss Sparkle's ult. That's obviously when you'll be using them, because you should be pretty SP positive up until that point. And honestly, this is a pretty simple team to play, but with simplicity comes a lesson to be learned from this team. And what we learned here is how to actually use Sparkle's skill efficiently, because most of the time when YANKIng gets his ultimate up, Pela normally hasn't had a chance to re-debuff the enemy or re-ult on the enemy, and is usually very close to when YANKIng gets his ultimate and she gets her ultimate. So with the ability of being able to extend that crit damage out to his next turn. This allows you to hostage his ult and allow Pela to actually re-debuff the enemy, or even with Ruan Mei, just re-debuff the enemy and give the elemental resistance shred with her ultimate move as well. This is just a really nice lesson to learn, and the same thing is going to be applied to future teams we talk about as well. But now with the general's lapdog out of the way, let's talk about the big general himself, General Jing, bro. Jing stonks are up, bro. Jing stonks go up every single update, and this update is no exception either, because Sparkle makes him an absolutely mad lad. She makes him obsessively good. But before we actually talk about our General Jing I'm gonna ask you guys to hit that subscribe button right now, because a lot of you aren't subscribed. So hit that subscribe button for some more content like this, and you'll get to see my copium videos on why not to summon for every single character in the game. So hit that subscribe button. Also, we're doing an Acheron giveaway very soon, so make sure you're subscribed and join into the Discord if you want to know when we're doing an Acheron giveaway, baby. Anyways, guys, let's talk about our General Jing now. Obviously, like I said, we have S2 signature light cone, and I'm not gonna lie, this is a super good light cone, and honestly, he works super well with it. But other alternatives, you could probably run the new Pentacone light cone as well and be just as fine, because all the enemies are going to be weak to lightning anyway. So the new Pentacone light cone will probably be really good on them. Today is another peaceful day, which is a battle pass light cone, could also probably work for him as well. Let's go ahead and hop into these traces now. Obviously, we crowned out his talent because that's where 90% of the damage comes from. We have a level 6 skill, level 7 ult. Hopping into the relics now, we are running a 4-piece Ash Blaze set, so he's getting the extra attack damage from the Lightning Lord when he comes and crashes down. Planner set is going to be Salsado, just for some extra crit right there, and also we get the extra follow-up damage from that as well. He's also going to be E0 because you really don't need any Eidolons, because apparently every single Eidolon form is trash. That's what I've heard anyways. Don't shoot the messenger. Now let's talk about the second Giga Chad of the team, Miss Topaz, because you know Miss Topaz is going to be increasing the follow-up damage that you can do to enemies. Now I do realize that a more optimal team would be to run Ting on this team, but I like running Topaz. Topaz and Noombi are really fun to run. He's rocking 129 speed right now, and that's with attack boots, by the way. She's also running 72 crit rate, 143 crit damage, so the crit ratio is decently fine. It's not like the best thing in the world. Now hopping into the light cones, we are running her signature light cone, and honestly, it's going to be kind of hard to pass up this light cone just because of the fact that it does give her 30% extra damage, and also it gives extra crit damage to Mr. Jing as well if they have Tame Stance on them. Obviously, you could run another light cone on her, but that's going to be completely up to what you have on your account. Relics is going to be a 2-piece Ash Blaze, 2-piece Salsado with 2 of other stuff just to get stats, because I don't have a full second Ash Blaze set, so yeah, that's what we're rocking there. Now on her, E1 would be super big if you had it, but it's not necessary to actually run the team. Now let's talk about Sparkly Spoo on this team, because Sparkly Spoo on this team does have to be ran in a specific way, like I mentioned before. You do want at least S3 dance here. This is so that she can get in front of the Lightning Lord a lot. You want to holster this ult a lot, and you have to play this team very smart. Hopping into the relic set on her now, as I mentioned before, we are actually going to be running a Von Wax set here, just because of the fact we want to get her action order up as much as possible in that first rotation, so we do have to sacrifice some crit damage to actually get that. Now Fushuan's not necessarily, honestly, Hoa Hoa would be a lot better for this, because sometimes Jing Yuan will be caught with like Lightning Lord at like 8 stacks or 7 stacks because he's missing like 3 energy. So Fushuan, not the best option here. Hoa Hoa would be better in this situation. Just put whatever sustainer you have. It doesn't really matter too much. Now, as I was mentioning before with Sparkle and Dance, you actually do need to time up her ultimates. That means you need to holster her ultimates to make sure that she's getting back in the rotation above Lightning Lord, because every time Lightning Lord gets stacks, he does get faster, his action value increases. So you realistically want to be holstering her ultimate until Jing Yuan's first turn back. So if we take the second cycle, for example, you'll be wanting to wait on her ult until Jing Yuan comes back up in the cycle here. Then when it's his turn, you'll use the ult so she can get back in front of the Lightning Lord with a few extra action value to spare. So he's able to get 10 stacks on the second rotation as well. But the point of me running this team is actually to show you guys that she works really well with follow-up characters in general. You can get the Lightning Lord to hit some absolutely massive damage because, like I said, the buff does last until the next turn. She's giving a huge damage multiplying buff as well, and it's just really good for Jing Yuan teams. With the ability to get skill points back up, you can ensure that he never misses a skill, so he always uses skill, and it's just going to be super good, guys, honestly. Now, with our general out of the way, let's stay consistent and keep Topaz on the same team here, but we're going to be replacing the general for Kafka, because Kafka actually works really well with Topaz, and I was curious to see how this team worked, and I was very surprised with how well this team worked, actually. So as a quick rundown of just how they're all built, I just have Kafka running on a full dot set. Here are her stats here now on screen. We're running an S5 Good Night Sleep Well because we'll be stacking up debuffs on the enemy, so we'll be getting a lot of use of that. Now Topaz Topaz. We basically just stole Jing Yuan set and put that set on her. Here are all of her copium stats here. And with this particular team, I'm actually able to run my strongest version of Sparkle because this team does not require Von Whack at all. So she's rocking 163 speed with 180% crit damage. And the reason why I like this team so much is because you're able to keep bringing Topaz back to the front, meaning she's able to do some pretty sizable damage on her own. Most of her skill attacks are hitting like 30k damage, and when she ults, she's doing even more damage, obviously. But on top of this, with her being so active and going so frequently, you actually have a faster time breaking the enemy shields because you're just moving so fast, which helps Kafka as well get an extra stack of defense shred from her relic set that she has, and she's also able to reproc all these dots on the enemy and to provide a good level of sub DPS damage for the team here. This team was able to clear Mach 11 with 4 cycles, so honestly not bad, and it definitely can be improved upon if you have a better Topaz than what I have, right? So all in all, this team just slaps, claps, and absolutely destroys. I was very surprised with how this team worked. Obviously, you could swap Kafka out for a Kritka here, and you could alternate between Topaz and Kafka, whoever gets to the front, because obviously the buff will last until Topaz's next turn anyways, so this will allow you to actually use Sparkle's ability on both Kafka and Topaz, and basically you would just renew the crit damage buff on Topaz whenever she comes back up naturally in the rotation again, and just keep boosting up Kafka with a Kritka, and just keep dealing some nice juicy Kritka damage here as well. And honestly, this team's a lot easier to SP manage than you would think, because you're actually able to use Topaz's basic attack whenever you need to, because it counts as a follow-up attack, which means it brings Noombi back up to the front regardless. You will lose a bit of damage and energy this way, meaning you can't get her ult back up as frequently, but it can help in certain situations here that you have more SP positive people on the team. So yeah, all in all, I think this team is really, really good. And yeah, guys, that's gonna do it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and bye. See you later. I fucking hate my life. Why did I bring forward Kafka and not Topaz to insta-kill the enemy and only take 4 cycles? I am dumb.